Hello and welcome to The View from the IDB. We are actually at the Latin America Economic Forum of the IIF, the Institute of International Finance, which is running alongside the IDB. I'm joined by Juan Ruiz, who is the Chief Economist for South America at BBVA. Juan, good to catch up with you. So this is a very interesting moment in time for Latin America. We are witnessing a series of more nationalistic and protectionist stance from some of the key economies in the world. Latin America, the US, of course, is the key offender in this case. And Latin America is going through a bit of a challenging time as well in terms of its economic growth. I'm presuming that this is also the key concern when looking at the region in the discussions that you are having at the IDB this year.
Sure. I mean, I think it's interesting the international context at this point, because a lot, and this is not just me, a lot of the discussion is pointing out that when you look at the numbers for global growth, they're actually improving, and that's good for Latin America in general, because we're expecting to grow based on the external sector. Terms of trade are improving, commodity prices are improving, but of course, as you mentioned, there's a lot of uncertainty, especially about what is going to come from US policies. The good news seems to be that some of the strongest fears that we had about extreme policies coming from the US seem to be abating, and that's good news, but still uncertainty is there, and that's one of the big topics.
That's one of the big topics, and we just heard from Mexico's finance minister, Minister Meade, talking and addressing the audience at the IIF forum. And of course, the big theme there as well is the relationship between the US and Mexico, NAFTA being renegotiated potentially soon, or perhaps even repealed completely. How Mexico would look at its future, trying to diversify its economy. But this is also an issue for the whole of the region. So looking at diversifying trade relations and strengthening trade relations with fast-growing parts of the world, such as Asia. So it's something that some countries in Latin America have done better than others. What would you like to see from the region this year in terms of integration and looking at trade with Asia?
Well, all matters related to trade, they advance relatively slowly, as it should be, because there are complicated negotiations. But something that I would like to see in this year is a continuing process of integration of Latin America into the global economy. One of the parts of the region that was lagging behind a little bit in that respect was Mercosur. I would expect some advance in that Mercosur European Union negotiations relating a free trade agreement between the two areas, and further steps in trying to merge Pacific Alliance and Mercosur. That is going to take time, but at least we have seen the will of both parts to try to start working on that, and we'll see how it goes. But I think those are the two avenues in which I would expect to be hearing some positive news this year.
And also would like to ask about Paraguay, of course, the host country for both the IIF Latin American Forum and the IDB's annual meeting. So a country that has grown at very high levels, definitely above average, for the past decades. But it is also a country that we're seeing now is in turmoil again because of law that is potentially putting a vote to the people on whether to allow presidents to be re-elected. So this has caused violence, confrontations only last night. So do you expect this perhaps political uncertainty to become a theme for Paraguay as well and maybe derail its growth, or is it a confined moment?
It's hard to tell, but I think what is being discussed is how you continue with the political process and the elections next year. I don't think people are discussing the fundamentals of how do you see the economic model for Paraguay, and I think that's the positive thing. Now, of course, the Paraguayan society has to decide how they go forward in terms of the political process. But in terms of economics, I don't think there's a major discussion. I think that's a positive and gives the sound footing for continue growing strongly in Paraguay and catching up with the rest of the region.
Very well. Well, thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.